All right, now that we have finished all of our normal journal entries and all of our adjusting journal entries, we are ready to calculate balances at the bottom of all of our accounts. This is very important because we will use these balances in order to do our adjusted trial balance. So for many of these, if there's only one item in our account, it's quite easy to get a total. So for example, in wages payable, our total is going to come down on the credit side and be $500 for our balance. Our depreciation, since depreciation has a normal balance of a debit, we're just going to bring down our $400 for depreciation for that office equipment. Continuing down, our wages expense, well, all of our expenses increase with a debit, and so we're just going to add all of these wages expenses together in order to get our balance. So our total at the bottom would be $3,875. All right, insurance expense, we'll just bring that total down. Advertising expense, again, since expenses increase with the debit, we're just adding everything on the debit side together. And I would get, for advertising expense, $2,753. All right, I'm going to pause real quick and just add all the rest of these totals here. Just keep in mind what is the increasing side and what is the decreasing side on each account. All right, now that I've added all the balances to the bottom of every single account, what's happening next is I'm going to take the balance at the bottom of each account here, and I will create what we call an adjusted trial balance. This is just going to ensure that I didn't make a mistake, to double check that my debits and credits after all these entries have balanced. All right, so on this page, I am going to create my adjusted trial balance. And remember, this is from our account totals that happen after our adjusting entries are complete. We're going to check that our total debits is equal to our total credits. That's the whole purpose, especially when these records were done by hand. It's easy to make a mistake. So again, our adjusting total trial balance is just done after adjusting entries. So we're going to bring over every single account balance at the end, and they're traditionally grouped together by our assets are grouped first. So you'll traditionally see that. Then we'll have our liabilities. Then we'll have our equity and our revenue and expense accounts. So that's just the tradition of what they're listed in. And our first one is typically always cash. All right, so once you add all of your debits and credits for cash together, you would hopefully get the account total of $48,372. You'll just keep going down the list of all of your accounts and sum your debits and credits at the bottom. All right, in our asset section, almost all of our assets should be debits, except for our accumulated depreciation accounts. Those two items have a typical credit balance because they reduce the overall value of our assets through depreciation. So again, all of our asset section are debits, except for our accumulated depreciation account should always have a credit balance. Next, we'll add our liabilities. All right, for this company, we have 3 liability accounts: accounts payable, wages payable, and unearned revenue. So remember, our payables, that's always a liability, and then our unearned revenue, we don't deserve to keep it. We would owe it back if we don't finish the work, so it's also a liability. All of your liabilities should typically also have credit balances. Then next up, we're going to bring in our equity. All right, our equity accounts are now added. You'll see common stock is a credit, dividends are a debit, revenue is a credit, and then all of our expenses are usually lumped together. They are all debits. Now that we've entered every single account at this point in time, total each column up. So if you do it correctly, you should get $109.34 on each of the columns. If you don't, for some reason, maybe we made a mistake somewhere. So remember, the whole point of our adjusted trial balance is to just make sure that our debit and our credit columns are equal. In our next step, we'll use these totals to create our financial statements. All right, so again, once we're all the way done, this is like our list, and we're going to use this to make our financial statements. The first one is always our income statement. So that's what we will do next.